You will hear a conversation between a university student and a receptionist at a sports and leisure center. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good afternoon, Westbrook Sports Center. How may I help you?
Hi, I recently moved into student accommodation nearby, and I was thinking about joining the centre. But before I register, I just wanted to ask a few questions.
Of course.
I actually heard about the centre from one of my classmates. At first, I thought it was only for professional athletes, but apparently students can join too.
Absolutely. A large number of our members are university students. In fact, we recently introduced discounted student memberships because demand became so high last year.
Oh, that's good timing then. And what facilities are included exactly?
Well, all memberships include access to the gym, swimming pool, and indoor courts. Originally, tennis lessons required an additional payment, but group sessions are now included in premium memberships.
Nice. I don't really play tennis though.
Most people say that initially.
Actually, I'm more interested in the climbing wall.
Unfortunately, the climbing area is currently closed for safety inspections. It was supposed to reopen this week. However, some replacement equipment still hasn't arrived.
That's a shame. Do you know when it will reopen?
Possibly next month, although management hasn't confirmed an exact date yet.
All right. And are lockers available?
Yes, but you'll need to bring your own padlock. Last year we provided temporary locks, but too many were lost or damaged. Were you considering a monthly membership or the annual package?
I'm not sure yet. My friend told me the monthly option was around £20.
That used to be correct, but prices increased slightly in January. The monthly membership now costs £28, while the annual package is £295.
The yearly one actually sounds better value.
Most students choose that option eventually.
And what time does the centre normally close?
During weekdays, facilities remain open until 11 p.m., although the swimming pool closes earlier, usually around 9:30.
Good to know. I usually exercise quite late after classes.
Then weekdays should suit you well. Weekends are much busier because of family activities and junior sports clubs.
Yeah, I'd rather avoid crowds if possible.
One more thing. New members must attend a short safety induction before using the gym equipment.
How long does that take?
Officially 30 minutes, but most sessions finish closer to 20.
That's fine. And what's the easiest way to register?
Honestly, online registration is much faster than completing forms here at reception, especially during evenings.
Perfect. Thanks for all your help.
You're welcome.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear a recorded announcement about a Science and Innovation Festival. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the annual Green Tech Science and Innovation Festival. Before activities begin today, we'd like to provide some important information regarding exhibitions, transport, safety arrangements, and scheduled events. First of all, several visitors have asked where this year's robotics exhibition is located. Originally, organisers intended to place it inside Hall B near the eastern entrance. However, because of electrical maintenance problems discovered last week, the exhibition has now been moved to Hall D, beside the indoor cafe area. Please follow the overhead signs if you are unsure. Announcement. Another important change involves the drone demonstration scheduled this afternoon. At first, organisers planned to hold the demonstration outdoors near the lake. Unfortunately, weather forecasts now predict strong winds during the afternoon. As a result, the demonstration will instead take place inside the northern arena. Please note that seating there is limited. Many visitors also ask whether photography is allowed during presentations. Photography is generally permitted throughout most exhibition areas. However, flash photography and video recording are prohibited during live scientific demonstrations because bright lights may interfere with sensitive equipment. Announcement. We'd also like to remind visitors that several interactive displays include virtual reality equipment. Children under the age of 10 must be accompanied by an adult while using these facilities. Last year, a few younger children became separated from their families during busy periods.
Now look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, regarding transport arrangements. Many people arriving this morning experienced delays on the Western Motorway because of road construction near the city centre. Festival organisers, therefore, recommend using public transport whenever possible. A free shuttle bus currently operates every 20 minutes between Central Station and the festival grounds. Originally, buses were scheduled every half hour, but additional services were added after ticket sales increased unexpectedly. Announcement. Visitors should also be aware that food stalls near the main stage become extremely crowded after midday. The quieter dining area beside the Science Museum usually has much shorter queues. Another important announcement concerns tonight's guest lecture by Professor Alan Morris. The lecture was initially expected to begin at 7:30. However, because Professor Morris's flight arrived late this morning, the talk has now been delayed until 8:15. Visitors holding premium tickets will still receive priority seating despite the schedule change. Finally, organisers ask all visitors to recycle plastic bottles using the green recycling stations located throughout the site. Last year, the festival reduced general waste by almost 40% through improved recycling systems. Thank you for your cooperation, and we hope you enjoy today's festival.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear 2 university students discussing a group research project with their tutor. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
All right, thanks for coming in. I've looked briefly at your project proposal, but I'd like to hear how the research is progressing directly from both of you.
Honestly, it's been a bit more complicated than we expected. At first, we planned to focus entirely on consumer behavior in online shopping.
Yeah, but after collecting our first survey results, we realized most students were more interested in social media advertising than online purchasing itself.
That actually sounds more focused. A narrower topic is usually easier to analyse properly.
That's what we thought too. Although reorganizing everything halfway through caused problems with the timetable.
I can imagine. And how many participants have you interviewed so far?
Well, initially we expected around 80 responses, but at the moment we've only completed 53.
Actually, 54 now. One more survey came in this morning.
Oh, right. I forgot about that one.
Still, that's probably enough for a small undergraduate study. And where are you mainly collecting data from?
Mostly students living in university accommodation. Originally, we also wanted to include local business employees, but arranging interviews outside campus became too difficult.
That's understandable.
The strange thing is that older participants gave much longer answers than younger students.
That often happens in survey research. Younger participants usually prefer short responses unless they're discussing something highly personal.
Now look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 30.
Now, regarding your presentation, have you decided who's covering each section yet?
Sort of. I'll probably explain the research methods and survey design.
And I'm handling the statistical analysis section. Although, I'm still trying to understand some of the software properly.
Which software are you using?
Mostly Data Lab. At first, we tried Quantify Pro because someone recommended it online, but it kept crashing whenever we imported larger files.
Yes, several students complained about that program last semester. Data Lab is usually more stable.
The only problem is that some of the graphs still look confusing.
You should simplify them. Remember, presentation slides are meant to support your explanation, not overwhelm the audience with information.
That's probably where we went wrong.
Also, don't forget your final report submission deadline. Originally, submissions closed on the 18th. However, the department extended the deadline until the 22nd because several students experienced technical problems during online uploads.
Oh, wow. That gives us a bit more time then.
Yes, but I wouldn't recommend leaving everything until the last minute.
Definitely not after what happened with our survey files.
Exactly. Anyway, your project seems much stronger now than during the first proposal stage.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear part of a university lecture about 4 famous psychologists and their theories on human behavior. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we'll examine several influential psychologists whose research significantly changed the way modern scientists understand human behavior, learning, and decision-making. Now, many students confuse these researchers because several of their theories overlap slightly. So, while listening today, try to focus carefully on the specific contribution each psychologist made. Let's begin with Professor Helen Carter. Carter became widely known during the late 1980s for her research into memory retention among university students. Interestingly, her early work actually focused on language acquisition in children. However, after observing examination performance among undergraduate students, she shifted her attention toward memory and long-term information storage. One of her most controversial claims suggested that short breaks during study sessions improved memory more effectively than continuous revision. At the time, many universities criticized her conclusions because they contradicted traditional teaching methods. Next, we have Dr. Samuel Reed. Unlike Carter, Reed concentrated mainly on workplace psychology and employee motivation. His research became particularly influential among large technology companies during the early 2000s. Rather than studying academic performance, Reed investigated how stress affected productivity in high-pressure office environments. He argued that flexible working hours increased efficiency by reducing mental exhaustion among employees. Although several business leaders initially dismissed his ideas as unrealistic, many modern companies later adopted similar systems. Now, Professor Linda Shaw approached psychology from a very different angle. Her work focused heavily on social behavior among teenagers, especially the influence of peer pressure. In one famous experiment, Shaw demonstrated how group opinion could strongly affect individual decision-making, even when participants privately disagreed with the majority. Some critics argued that her experiments created artificial situations, but supporters claimed they revealed important truths about human conformity. Finally, there's Professor David Morgan. Morgan specialized in behavioral responses during emergencies and natural disasters. Following several major earthquakes during the 1990s, he conducted large-scale research examining why some individuals remained calm under extreme pressure while others panicked. His findings later influenced emergency training programs used by police forces and rescue organizations worldwide. Interestingly, Morgan himself originally trained as an engineer before moving into psychology. Many researchers believe this technical background helped shape his highly analytical research methods.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers.